Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be setting up a new tank to replace this little 1-foot cube which for the past 2 years has housed my wife's Betta. The tank usually sits on a side table in our lounge area, and we've decided to replace it with something a little bigger that better fits the space. The existing tank is currently sitting on a desk in our open office workspace, and as you can see is quite wild and overgrown at the moment. The tank we are setting up for the Betta is this Opti-White 50 by 37 high by 32 deep. On the lighting side, I'll be running the new SKYLIGHT ENTRIQ, which is a pretty cool new light out from SKYLIGHT. If anyone's interested, I'll put a link in the comments for a setup and initial thoughts video I made a few weeks back. Right, let's get cracking. For hardscape, I knew I wanted big bold pieces of wood. So I pulled some options out and put them on a table outside and started playing with ideas for the scape. In the end, I settled on just 3 pieces, 2 of them being massive pieces of ironwood and 1 smaller piece being used mainly to support the main structure. With the overhanging effect I wanted from the top branch, I needed to add a small section of egg crate, so the weight of the branch would not push everything else around the base of the tank. That's roughly the look I settled on. So I guess a triangular scape, or could we call it a negative triangle, planting dependent. With the hardscape roughly where I wanted it, it was time to start gluing pieces to the egg crate base. For this I used the cotton wool and super glue method. I won't go into much detail on this, as there are countless tutorials available online. The 2 important things to consider is that you need a wickable material like cotton wool, paper towel, or cigarette filters, and a low viscosity liquid cyanoacrylate. As long as you have these, you should get good, strong bonds. At this stage, I removed the entire hardscape structure from the tank so I could get to the back in order to glue the suspended branch and trim the egg crate base down to just what was needed. Next, I blocked all the gaps below the wood in order to stop the substrate from the back coming through to the front. For the substrate system, I started with a layer of crushed lava rock. With a sprinkle of bacterial powder on top of this. And then I put down 2 to 3 centimeters of Dennerle Deponent-Mix. And on top of that, I sprinkled a few broken up slow release root tab caps. This I finally capped with Dennerle Scapers soil. Next, some decorative gravel and cosmetic sand went in, and a little more gravel for detail. After seeing just how bold that main wood structure looked, I decided to add another small piece just to balance it out a little. And a little more gravel. Finally, time for planting. I prefer planting in a slightly damp substrate, so I gave the layout a good spray. First in was a pot of Cryptocoryne spiralis red at the back. Then some Bacopa salzmannii purple in the back left corner. In front of that, Blyxa japonica. You'll note I've trimmed this right down. I had a week or two delay in getting the planting done and had plants sitting in less than ideal conditions. So I was expecting some of these to melt away, but we'll see. Next, in the slightly shaded area, some good old Staurogyne repens. Then a little Marsilea minuta in the back right. I then went and harvested some Pogostemon helferi from another tank. I'm not sure how, but I managed to lose a little footage of the planting of that, so you'll see it just appear here between the Staurogyne and Marsilea. Next up, some epiphytes. In total, I added 2 in vitro tubs of Anubias barteri nana, 1 tub of Bucophilandra kedegang, and 1 tub of Hygrophila penditifida. From an existing setup, I added some Monte Carlo as an epiphyte to 2 hollows in the hardscape. And finally, I glued some patches of Ricardia to the wood. In the initial phase, the tank will be filtered with a seeded Seachem Tidal 35, which is a pretty decent little hang on the back, but eventually this will be switched out for a canister once my supplier's stock arrives. This is the tank around a week after startup, and as expected, some of the initial tissue culture plants had melted. The reason for this were twofold. I had taken way too long in setting up the tank initially and had plants sitting on my desk for 2 to 3 weeks with a heat wave in this period. The second possible contributing factor is likely linked to unstable water parameters. Because of the large amount of tannins leaching from the ironwood, I have been doing 90% water changes daily for the past 10 days. You can see in this scene what the tannins look like just 12 to 18 hours after water change. At this stage, I got some replacement Blyxa and Hygrophila araguaia to replace the plants that had melted initially. Time to fill it up again. No doubt I'll be looking at tea in the morning. I was expecting to battle with this wood. The two main pieces in here have a combined weight of around 12 to 15 kilos, and once I had chosen them, I initially soaked them in a 100-litre tub outside, subjected them to a 2-hour boil, and then threw them in my tropical pond for around 3 weeks. Within the first week, they had managed to turn a 5,000-litre system a nice tea-stained color. At this stage, it doesn't feel like the leaching of this wood will ever stabilize. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching if you've made it to here. If you're interested in following the progress of this tank, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button.